And welcome back. It's time for a new episode of Direct Edition. And it's the week of May 22nd. Welcome back to an episode of Direct Edition. We're happy to have you with us. We got a few things that we want to talk about today, so let's get started. Tommy, what's going on, man? It's another week, another episode of Direct Edition. How are we still doing this?
Oh, I love this. This is fantastic.
I am
so much
this too.
support and so much fan, love from, stores and just people who are just generally interested in comic books. I'm so excited about it. I was actually generally surprised at how much people are enjoying the show. So I want to keep this going as much as we can. And this is definitely in response to, your guys' subscriptions, your likes, and we want to hear from you. So give us your comments, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, follow us on social media, and give us a share. Well, Jared, I'm tired, but not because of the show.
No.
I've been working out with a personal trainer every morning at 6 a.m., so I have to be up at 5. So I'm a little run down. However, this guy, I'm fairly convinced, is trying to kill me. All right? Now, I've always been an athlete. I've always, been active, but I've been very conscious about my health lately. I've been, eating better, lost a little bit of weight, and I decided to kind of, build some lean muscle by working with a trainer. And, worked with him on Monday. It was fantastic. Came in this morning and it was just like, I kind of crawled into the studio this morning. So
for those of you that don't know, we shoot this at 8:30 in the morning. So that can go a long ways when you have a full rest of your day doing our regular jobs where I go to the shop and do the things that I need to do.
And normally this is fine, for me because but last night I kind of went to a Braves game and was kind of out late. So I didn't sleep much, but I did sleep,
Well.
Yeah. But, this morning, it was great, though. I've been loving the workout stuff. I'm kind of hoping to see the results, so it's been fun. What's going on in the comic book world? How was your week last week? You doing all right over there?
Yeah. Things just kind of proceeding as normal, which is not the worst thing in the world. Sometimes it's one of those things where clients will come in and they're like, oh, man, how you doing? What's new? And it's like, I look at the same 4 walls and I do the same thing every week.
Yeah, but you've been doing some more D&D stuff a little bit.
Oh yeah, in my personal time, we've been we just actually wrapped our 7th episode of Stradfire, and you can find us on Discord most weeks. We're I think bi-weekly every Sunday. So I'm the party cleric. I try to keep everyone alive, but I'm also the person that's trying to get the most information. Usually when I play a character, we subscribe to the but does it bleed aspect. So normally I'm playing a rogue and I'm just trying to get out there and deal some damage. But other than that, which I think I mentioned in my D&D game last week, other than that, I'm trying to get to the movies, not just for my own personal enjoyment, but for some content.
I wanted
for
to
the
go
show.
see Endgame a second time, and I have not made it. It's like because it's so long, it's a commitment. You've got to put this on my calendar, and hey, I've got to carve out half a day of my life which is worth it. Don't get me wrong, but I just haven't made it yet. And I'm thinking, I've got some vacation coming up, so I'm gonna try to get some chill time and maybe go see it again and catch up on some books and things like that because my pull list is starting to stack up.
Yeah, that is something that affects me also. I'm trying to get through, my stack of stuff because my nightstand, if it has a weight limit, has probably exceeded it. But it's just about that slow chipping
mine are
away.
starting to fall off in the floor, and it's like,
Do you need a box?
No. I actually, I do need another box. I have maxed out all my long boxes, so I need to get, at least a short box to kind of just be my reading box, which I've done in the past, but I've actually filled up the other short boxes too. So, it's been a crazy week, here at the studio, and we've been, normal business is kind of rock and rolling, which is fantastic. So squeezing in Direct Edition has been a lot of fun. The team loves it, and but I want to get to my books a little bit more so I can kind of be a little bit more versed. I did get to read some of the things that we've got coming up this week.
Okay.
Trying to keep up with some of those storylines. And I think that's our next segment. We're going to jump right into what's coming out this week. It's got some really good stuff for you, and let's go through them. And we got another action-packed week of comic books this week, and there's going to be a lot in your pull box this week, so you want to make sure you know what's coming. If it's not there, go and ask, and let's get it. Coming down the pipe from Marvel, we've got Venom number 14, War of the Realms, Journey into Mystery number 3. It is 3 of 5 of the miniseries tie-in to War of the Realms. Also along with that is War of the Realms Strike Force, Land of the Giants number 1. This is a one-shot tie-in, and you want to pick that up as well. Tony Stark, Iron Man, number 11, coming out there, and Avengers, number 19. Miles Morales, Spider-Man, number 6. Shuri, number 8. Star Wars, Age of Rebellion, Jabba the Hutt, number 1. The Vile Gangster gets his own comic book for the first time. And we've also, rounding out for Marvel, we've got Wolverine Infinity Watch, number 4. With DC Comics, we've got Action Comics, number 1011. This is the conclusion to the Leviathan Rising series. Batgirl, number 35. Flash, number 71. This is part 2 of the Year 1 series. This has been a great read, and I'm looking forward to the second part of it. Martian Manhunter, number 5. Also, Scooby-Doo Team Up, number 48, and Wonder Woman, number 71. With Image, Assassination, number 3. Middle West, number 7. Monstrous, number 22. And Redneck, number 20. Rounding out with IDW, we've got Sonic the Hedgehog number 17 and Clue Candlestick number 1. Jared?
Yeah. Picks.
These are some cool books.
They are.
There are some IDW books like The Clue, and it's like, okay, I know they do a lot of pop culture IPs, which is really cool. So I'm kind of curious what this Clue Candlestick number 1 is. I'm not saying I'm going to go put this in my pool box, but at the same time, it's like, it's really interesting to see some of those things coming out. I know Sonic the Hedgehog has got a movie coming out.
It does.
So it's interesting if you're looking to get into, if you're a fan of the game or if you're just a fan of Sonic in general, definitely a cool comic book to jump into. But truthfully, man, I know you're still big on the War of the Realms kick. Is that in your pulls this week?
It is definitely in my pulls this week, but there are a couple other things that I'm excited about also.
Let's hear 'em.
Assassination from Image is a hilarious title. Basic premise is there are rankings of the top contracted hitmen and hitwomen in the world, and the number 1 spot leader, the person that held the number 1 spot, is currently a target for someone. So he hires other hitmen to kind of be his bodyguards and protectors. It's a funny book. I really enjoy it. A lot of the action sequences are really cool. The characters are really neat. So that's kind of my lighthearted book, kind of in the vein of like Shirtless Bear Fighter that I really enjoyed.
Love some Shirtless Bear Fighter.
I so hope
Bear Punch.
I so hope they come back with another version of Shirtless Bear Fighter.
Yeah, I love that.
I
book.
really want that to come back.
Yeah, I do too.
What else was on that list? I'll be getting War of the Realms. I'll probably be keeping up with Monstrous.
Solid list.
Yeah, and like going back to what you said about Clue, this is actually the IDW's second run of Clue. There was one that was just titled Clue. It was about a 6-issue miniseries that came out a while back, but Clue Candlestick looks like it's going to be a new story.
This isn't like interactive or anything, is it?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I can go back and double check. It'd be really interesting if this was
very cool
comic book from the
I'm kind of
perspective.
curious how you're going to do a character about the candlestick. I mean, I guess that works. I
don't know if it's going to be from the perspective of the candlestick or if that's just how they're
interesting.
Going to just separate it out from the original run, but we'll see what happens. Oh, and you mentioned Flash. I read Flash number 70. I read Year 1. I really, really enjoyed it. This was exactly what I needed and what I was hoping to get out of it when we talked about number 70 coming out 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to definitely be keeping up and following with that because I like how it ended. Ended on a little bit of a cliffhanger, and I'm interested. I'm interested.
Yeah. So leading into my picks of the week, Flash number 71 at the top of the list.
Right.
I did get a chance to read that one because I was really curious of how they were going to play that out. Definitely followed the traditional Barry Allen origin story as closely as possible. And there were some really cool Easter eggs in that. I don't know if you picked up on them, Jared, when you read it, but at the very beginning, they've got Barry reading All Flash comic books, which is
I did see that.
essentially in the original Barry Allen run. That's how Barry Allen kind of knew what about the. That's how they kind of referenced the original Flash, you know. So to give that little shout out was, for me, was something I really appreciated and I thought was really cool. So, but the story looks cool. It looks great. The artwork's great. The writing's good. I'm very engaged with this, so I'm definitely looking forward to number 2. Not a lot from my pulls this week on from DC. So, but I'm actually kind of interested in the Jabba the Hutt, you know, because I mean, this guy's never had his own comic book, and you know, and he's a huge character in the Star Wars universe, so it's kind of interesting to get maybe something from his perspective, and let's see what they come up with this, because these little one-shots that Star Wars have been putting out have been pretty awesome, you know?
Yeah, and you know, like we talked about before, the benefit of having a one-shot is it's something that you can get interested in, that you can get invested in, that people can tell new stories, but you don't have to follow a full-blown run. But even if they did, that's why we always recommend doing subscriptions. Subscriptions are a great way to kind of keep up and make sure that you get the issues that you need. Most comic book stores do have that as an offer. But again, every store is different.
That's a good point, Jared. And that's going to lead us up to our next segment where we're going to talk about subscription services. But we're going to take a real quick break, and we'll be back in a second.
Battle of Atlanta is the place where the best people in the world came to fight. So Oliver tells us, if you want to be the best, you have to go to the Battle of Atlanta. And as a kid, you see the pictures, and it was always the main goal one day to come here to fight.
Johannes is my best friend.
We push each other. And if we don't fight against each other, one of us was in the corner and hoped that he win or I will win.
The first fight in the career on the stage of the Battle of Atlanta
It was a dream come true. Your whole life you train for that, and now it's there. Sometimes I walk out in the hall and there was a big picture from me and it's not real. But you don't do it for the fame or for a lot of people can see it. You do it for yourself. Martial arts is my life. Oliver was always a role model for us. Now we live that life, and I hope we can be role model for other kids in the future. They see the pictures now from the battle. If we come home and see one day I will come to the battle.
Welcome back, guys. One of the best things about going to a local comic book store is they offer subscription services. And if you're not taking advantage of these, you are missing out. There are some real benefits to setting up a subscription service with your local comic store because, truthfully, Jared, if you don't, you're probably missing out on a few things. Not so much, it's a lot of people tend to think of this as a way for the comic book store to ensure that they get your money. And that's not the case at all. For me, as a collector and just a fan of all these things, there's certain books and issues and covers that I want to make sure I get, and if I've got those on my subscription list, then I know that I'm going to get those.
Yeah, and that's kind of the big thing is, like I said earlier, every store is different and every store has different policies with their subscription service. But the main big thing with a subscription is, like any other type of subscription to print media, whether it's a magazine or a newspaper, you're essentially telling the retailer in the comic book store that you are interested in X title. So you could want just Batman if you're solely a Batman fan. You could want Batman Action Comics, War of the Realms, Infinity War, Wolverine, something from Image. You can build a list, and essentially what the comic book store will then do for you is compile that as a client account for you, or at least that's the experience at my store. The system we use will say, hey, this is your account, this is everything that you're reading, and then we have to submit our orders in advance. Generally, a comic book shop will submit monthly orders, and for this month, for May, our orders are everything that's coming out in July. So they are at least 2 months in advance.
Which is why those previews catalogs are so important.
Yeah, it gives you a look at what's coming out, and then when it does come out, that account has already pulled and held all those items. So say, for example, Tommy, you come in and you're like, hey, I want to read Batman. I'm like, cool, great, we can do that. I already have 10 subscribers to Batman. I'm about to submit my orders. We add that to you. Those orders now get bumped up to 11. And when those 11 ship in July, my system at First Edition pulls a report saying, hey, of these 11, 7 need to be set aside. One of those 7 is for Tommy. What this allows you to do then essentially is make sure that every issue that comes out of Batman or any run should come in pending any sort of shipping or distribution errors. And that's the real key. That's the benefit. If you want to read Batman and you don't want to miss an issue, a subscription is always a good way to go. I know for me, my subscribers always come first. So if I'm limited on my shelf copies, if I get a run that's damaged and, let's say out of 20 copies, I only have 13 to choose from, let's say I have 13 subscribers, they're all going to go there, nothing's going to go on the shelf, and hopefully Diamond will send me replacements.
One can hope.
One can hope. I don't know if we mentioned this before, but we referenced Diamond a lot. Diamond Comics is the distribution service that distributes comic books to every store, nation, and possibly worldwide. So if you hear us talk about Diamond, that's kind of what we're referencing. All comic book stores get their stuff through Diamond, or at least new stuff. But yeah, that's the key difference and the key benefit with subscribing is you're minimizing your risk on missing out on something. It can be hard to keep track of all of the individual release dates, all of the individual tie-ins if there is one. And essentially what you're doing is, like, let's say you can't get out to the shop until after you leave work at 5
Dude,
p.m.
that's like more common. I guess sometimes it's 2-3 weeks, because of just scheduling.
Yeah, and let's say it's not, yeah, that's exactly right. If you can't even make it in on the day, you might not even be able to make it out on the week. And if that shelf copy is hot and people are talking about it, especially now with social media and the internet, if someone says, hey, this book is really good, or hey, this book is going to be collectible or key in the future, people are going to come in and buy it up off the shelves, even if they're just a casual reader. So by having a subscription, you're basically showing up early and saying, even if I can't pick up my stuff, I want to read this, pull and hold it for me, please.
One thing I have found value with my subscription services, and this ties into the store owners, they start to get a sense of like what your tastes are, what you're interested in. For example, everybody knows I'm a big Batman fan, right? So I try to pull as much stuff that has Batman in it, and sometimes I can be selective, sometimes I'm not, because there's some storylines I'm like, I'll just check it out, like the White Knight series. I thought that I'll take a look at that. Can't say it was one of my favorite, maybe one of the few. It's a cool story. And then I'm also kind of in this vein where it's like I wasn't super excited about the Black Label stuff coming out, and I was like, I'm not gonna get a copy of Batman Damned. And then they came in. I went to get my books. You looked at me and you were saying, hey, do you want a copy of Batman Damned #1? I said, I don't know. Should I get a copy of it? And you were like, well, and your logic was great. It was like, hey, new imprint for DC. It's a
New #1.
New #1, and that was about it. And I said, yeah, sure, why not? And it turns out this book was worth like $100 after the first week it sold.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons, people. We know what's up there. But again, I would have not have thought to like really make that part of my collection had you not mentioned that, had you not been aware that I was, how I collect and how I read. And I think that's a valuable part of the subscription services as well, because that helps the store owner anticipate not only sales through you, but what is it the reader's going to be interested in, and what is that collector looking for? Because when it comes to independent comics, you just never know what's going to take off and what's not. Because if you can get a #1 of something, that's going to go like Walking Dead. How many people wish they'd have picked up a copy of that? I think it sold
a ton.
A handful of copies originally.
Yeah, it was a black and white, no color zombie book written by Robert Kirkman, who's well known for his zombies because he also wrote Marvel Zombies. But unless you were a fan in the horror genre,
you weren't getting it.
You may not have picked it up. Cut to a couple years later, of course, we know Walking Dead is the phenomenal pop cultural success that it is, and everybody wants that book. But there would have been no way to tell, way back when. We don't have crystal balls. We can't gauge that. But that's why I like doing what I do at First Edition. Is I have a client that comes in that reads a particular title or a particular character, and something new comes out. I want to be able to put it on their radar.
Yeah, it helps stimulate the conversation about what a a potential buyer might be interested in, and what your recurring customer is collecting. I like Star Wars stuff, and sometimes I'll pick up some of the runs of stories, and sometimes it's whatever, because I don't want to jump in the middle of a story arc and then have to backtrack and buy a bunch of issues. You may have it, you may not, and it can get frustrating that way. However, if there's some one-shots or there's a new storyline coming out, something that ties into the films, maybe you want to pick it up. The new the Stranger Things series that came out this past year with Will and the Upside Down, totally picked that up because I wanted to see what actually happened. That's a good tie-in. So knowing your customers' tastes is super valuable. That's what this is for. And again, I love what Jared says. If you don't want to miss out on something, because if you're like me, I sometimes can't always make it there to this comic shop on Wednesday. Sometimes if I do get there on Wednesday, I'm coming in before closing, and the stuff may or may not be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there have been times where I've been real nervous about not getting something. And of course, great thing about First Edition, and all local comic book shops are different. You guys send out an email every Wednesday morning saying, this is what's coming out, this is what's in your pull list, and if it's something else that I kind of wanted but didn't for some reason tell you, I can shoot you an email and that gets pulled into my stuff. And then if I do it enough, you may or may not add it depending on my request, but you start to anticipate the needs, and I think that's great. A lot of local comic books, and I go to a lot of stores all over the U.S. Anytime I'm in a city, I try to hit up a store just to see what's going on. But I've also had subscriptions at various comic book shops, and so by keeping that relationship, I'm never worried about missing out on an issue. I'm never worried about, like, if I don't make it, trust me, and don't be this guy, because it's hard on the comic dealers. But I have gone 4 weeks and not picked up my books. But that's because I've been traveling, not because I didn't want them.
Sure. Well, and I think that also hits on an important note too, is, there are a lot of pros for the comic shop retailer in setting up a subscription service, but you really have to kind of make sure that you manage and get to know your client base. And I put that a little bit on the clients too. Get the time. This is about community. Take the time, get to know your comic book owner, talk to them, engage with them, set up a rapport and a relationship, because the more that they know you and your individual habits, they can always work with what they know, not what they don't know. So if they know, Tommy's all over the country, there may be a little bit of time where he doesn't come in, but he always comes in at least once a month, then that's easy to work with. But again, every shop is different. Some shops may require you to put a deposit down or leave a credit card on file.
That's an important point, and I'm going to talk about this. That can be a little scary for people, because I know people don't like to commit to even gym memberships. But like, when you put a deposit down on comic books, there's a very valid reason for this. And I personally sometimes hesitate to do it myself. But here's the thing, I don't know if people understand this. When a comic dealer buys comics from Diamond, those comic books are theirs until they are sold. So if you order a comic book through your local comic shop and you never come pick it up, you're doing your comic shop a disservice, because now they're stuck with something that they may or may not be able to sell, or they're going to have to sell at a way discounted price. And this is a business just like any other. So I want to kind of throw that little plug in there, because there is some realities to be had, but I don't turn anybody off to subscription service, because they're super helpful. And I definitely have mine. I'm always going to keep mine, because there are certain books that I do not want to miss out on.
Right. And, not to end on a downer, but that is a good note to make, because a lot of people don't understand that sometimes. Or it's not that they don't understand, they might just not know. Because we're in a direct market, you're absolutely right. Everything that we purchase, we own, and there's little to no returns. Now, Diamond and some of the publishers have gotten better. Some books may qualify for, returns that don't need explanation. You can just say, hey, I'm sending them back. You still might have to pay for the shipping. But you're right. At the end of the day, your comic book shop and your local retailer is a business, and if you want to see them stick around, sometimes you need to support them, and that's the best way to do it, by having that kind of recurring consistency with a subscription is always a good way to go about that. But we love our subscribers. We do anything for them. I get people that will send me emails, send me Facebook messages saying, hey, can you get me this, this, and this? And if it's within the realm of possibility, we'll do it.
Every comic book shop I've ever patroned has been helpful like that. And I challenge all of you guys to go into your store and set up a subscription store if you haven't done so already, because it is awesome because I don't have to worry, and nothing is as helpful to me as peace of mind. With that, though, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back in a few minutes. Thanks. And we're back with the Q&A portion of our show. I love this part, Jared, because this is where we get to hear from you guys. And remember, this is a show about comic books, but it's for you. We want to hear from you. Send us those comments, send us those direct messages so we can answer any questions you may have out there to the best of our ability.
To the best of our ability is actually the best qualifier for this show.
I think that's fair. First question I had this week was, this was to me, actually, who is my favorite Batman artist?
Huh.
Which is interesting. Actually, you haven't really ever thought about
Sure.
that. I have a few, actually.
Okay.
Bob Kane. I'm teasing. No. You got to give some respect to Bob Kane. He created the guy.
Sure.
No. I love Neil Adams' artwork. And I know he's done a run on several comic books, but I just love the way he draws Batman. And, it's kind of old school and throwback, but I'm throwing it to Neil, man. I just love what you do. There's been some others. Capullo stuff was great. He's got some good artwork, very specific, very stylized, and gives Batman that real gritty look.
Sure.
But honestly, I have to say that probably my favorite's Jim Lee. I know that's kind of a generic answer, maybe to those people out there who are diehard art fans. But for me, I just love the way he draws everybody.
Sure.
The Hush. I mean, that's what pulled me into Hush.
Yeah.
And I actually bought. When Detective Comics 1000 came out, I actually ordered all 4 Jim Lee variants. I spent a couple of bucks on them, but I really wanted them. He had some really cool cover variants, and I wanted to get those. So,
Well, that's the thing is when you find a good artist that you like, you want to continue to support that, and you appreciate the work that they put into it.
I did, just on a side note, I did enjoy Joelle Jones's run.
Okay. Yeah.
On Batman. I do love her artwork. She's got
Yeah.
a very specific style.
Definitely.
And I'm a huge fan of I love Lady Killers, and I love what she's doing with Catwoman. And so it's just she's really specific, but she is really good, and I love her. It's just very intimate, very great. I love her artwork.
Yeah, I think you hit on a lot of the high marks and a lot of the individuals that have made their mark on Batman. And I got to agree, I like Capullo too. The New 52 run of Batman is a lot of what I have kind of in my recent memory banks of what I've enjoyed most of Batman. I know there are classic storylines and things from way back when that some people have latched onto. But when I think of Batman, I'm more in the present and in the now. So for me, Capullo really sticks out.
Love Capullo. I love Reborn. I don't know if you've read that series, but it's really cool. I actually got to meet him at the Lexington Comic Con a couple years ago, and I was able to get him to sign all of my stuff.
Very cool.
It's really cool. So it's always cool to meet those artists out there at the cons and get those signatures and just kind of see their take on stuff. And there's some exclusive artwork too that they bring in. So that's really a cool thing too as well.
So outside of Batman, do you have any other favorite artists?
Yeah. I think you've kind of caught me at a moment when I'm kind of confused. Like I said, a lot of these artists kind of cross over to other storylines. So it's may not be drawing on Batman, but I still follow them because of their artworks. Yes, but at this moment, it's like I'm trying to think.
Sure.
I can't. My mind is fried this morning, so please sit with me. The one that's drawing Skyward. Lee.
Oh, we mentioned it last
Last
week.
week.
Uh,
Loving that art. That's
yeah.
the only thing that really, that's what drew me to the book, was like, I loved this guy's art style.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll probably put a little ding about who the artist is. You know, oh, that came to me.
Yeah.
But yes, that's somebody. What about you? Is there somebody outside of the mainstream that you're digging?
Let me think. I tend to follow like a lot of cover artists. I know Stanley Lau, who also goes by Art Germ, has done a lot of variant covers that a lot of people like. I'm probably going to butcher the name. She's not a cover artist, but Sana Takeda does the interiors for Monstrous. Her line work is absolutely beautiful. And I think, gosh, who else?
Zach Wilcox. That's my artist.
Oh, okay.
He's awesome. If you don't know Zach Wilcox, follow Zach Wilcox at Zach Weck. He's great. Got to give a plug to my guy.
Sure.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Gosh, I'm sure there are plenty of people that I think.
Comment, guys. Tell us who your favorite artists are so we can share those with people, because we want to hear from you. Tell us who your favorite artist is. All right, next question I got. What are your favorite comic book shows that you're watching right now?
I cut the cord on cable, so I actually haven't been watching
You don't have
any of the
DC
shows.
Universe?
I don't. I already pay for Netflix. I already pay for Hulu. So it's one of those things where,
What about Disney Plus? Are you going to get that when it comes out?
oh, for sure.
Totally.
Oh, for sure. But honestly, a lot of it too has been, it just comes down to time. I haven't had time to read my comic books. I haven't had time to keep up with the shows. I was really heavy into Arrow when that first started coming around. And then, of course, I got into Flash.
Got one more season.
Yeah, its final season's coming up. Actually, I take that back. Umbrella Academy. I really enjoyed Umbrella Academy.
Whoa. Loved it.
So a lot of the original streaming service shows I've really been enjoying, and Umbrella Academy kind of blew me away, and I really liked that. So in terms of favorite shows, I think that has to be on the top of my list right now. I want to get into Cloak and Dagger. I just haven't had the time yet, and I know it's on Freeform, and we can check it out there. I've heard good things about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. With the past couple seasons. But yeah, I don't think I have a particular favorite right just now.
I have pretty much started with all these shows. You know, I started off with Arrow, and I was super engaged with it. And I've kept up with Arrow up until the last few episodes. I'm a little bit behind on that, probably some about 5 or 6 back, so don't spoil it for me, folks. And then definitely the one I have kept up with is Flash. So I'm on top of Flash. I was doing Walking Dead, but I haven't watched anything since they came back from the mid-season break. But like you, definitely loved Umbrella Academy. It was a surprise for me because I didn't know the storyline, but my niece watched it and said it was awesome, so I had to check it out. And I really, really, really enjoyed that show. What else am I watching right now? You got
Can we
something?
talk about Watchmen?
Oh, yes, we can talk about Watchmen.
'Cause
that is coming. Is it out yet, or is it?
It's not out yet, but it will be coming
It's
soon.
on HBO, right?
Yeah, they've been showing the promos for it after Game of Thrones, which, again, by the way, we'll probably talk about again at some point in the near future. But I'm super interested in Watchmen. It looks like it is taking place in modern day, so obviously it would be set post the film. And it looks like, from a little bit of what I've seen, I think it's following more closely to the film's story than the graphic novel.
Right.
For those of you that don't know, there are some key differences between the film's ending and the graphic novel's ending. We won't spoil it for you so that you can check it out and appreciate it in your own time. But I'm very interested to see. Obviously, HBO's kind of swinging for the fences here, saying, like, look, we know Game of Thrones is ending. We got to get people to keep up on their subscriptions, and how are we going to keep them engaged? So it looks like that same kind of production quality is coming to Watchmen. Jeremy Irons is in it.
Yes.
So I'm very excited to see what comes down the pike with that.
Love Jeremy Irons. Yeah, that's definitely going to be on my DVR. You know, I have been following DC Universe, so I have watched Titans, which to be honest, when they debuted that trailer at Comic-Con last year, it was like, I'm not sure about this. But then I actually watched it, and it was actually really good. And then I watched Doom Patrol. which was shot here in Georgia.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed Doom Patrol. The cast is fantastic in that. So those are probably my top comic book shows. I will check out Watchmen. I will check out whatever comes down from Disney Plus. I did keep up with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and a couple of those shows, The Gifted, for a while. But that just had so much going on. It's just hard to kind of keep track of everything. So for those of y'all who are out there watching those shows, let us know what you're into. Let us know what you like. And we'll see if we can talk about those in upcoming episodes. But, man, I think this has been a fun show, Jared. And we've got a pretty cool episode coming up next week. I think we're going to talk specifically about one of my favorite things, which is Funko Pops. For all you Funko fans out there, this is the episode you want to tune into. I really, I love Funko Pops.
Yeah.
We've got a few here on the set. Probably going to deck the set out next week for with a lot of Funko Pops because I really do enjoy those. And, when I wasn't collecting comic books, I was collecting toys.
Sure.
And lots of Star Wars figures, lots of Batman figures. But, I've really got to admit, I've really enjoyed all the stuff Funko puts out. Not just the pop vinyls, but there's a few other things that they've put out that I really enjoyed. So I want to get into that next week if that's cool with you.
Yeah, I'm totally down for it. We sell Funko Pops at the store. It's something that you definitely know more than I do about. So I'm interested to, learn along with everybody else. And I think that'll be a fun little segment because they've had a interesting history. They've come a long way, and of course they are one of the most recognizable toy lines out there currently on the market. So
Agreed.
I think it's gonna be neat.
So be sure to tune in next week as Jared and I talk about all things Funko. This has been a great episode. Again, like, comment, subscribe, share, and follow us on those social media outlets. Twitter, Instagram, @DirectEditionTV. And remember, guys, keep responsibly.